challenge any non-Muslim to find me one verse in this book that actually promotes violence.
All right, let's check this out.
Everyone says the Holy Quran promotes a bunch of violence. That's not true. I will leave Islam if you can show me just one verse that actually promotes violence.
Because Islam is a movement, it is a worldview that is built on violence. Surah 929 literally says to fight those who do not believe in Allah.
So here's Kohli again, trying to manipulate people, trying to lie and trying to say that the Quran is corrupted. I thought you would have learned your lesson by now, but I guess not, right? So he's quoting a chapter of the Quran that has 129 verses, and he's taking one verse out of that and he's claiming, look, Islam is a religion that promotes violence. That's like me taking a book that has multiple chapters and reading one random paragraph in a random chapter and then claiming to know the entire book. Okay, that's absolute nonsense. And that's literally what you've just done, okay? So verse 29 of chapter 9 was revealed for a specific situation. What was the situation? The Muslims that were in Medina, they were facing aggressive attacks by the Jews and the Christian tribes, okay? These Jews and Christians, they were allied with the pagan tribes and they were attacking the Muslims or they were betraying the Muslims. So what did Allah say in this verse? He addresses self-defense and the protection of the community of the Muslims. This verse refers to the groups that actively threatened the Prophet, his Muslims, and the security of the Muslim state. So it's not a verse that says go and kill these guys wherever you find them. It's a specific verse for a specific situation, for a specific group of people, right?
Until they pay the tax, willingly submit, and are fully humbled.
And regarding the tax that you're talking about, it was a protection tax for non-Muslims who lived under the Muslim rule. Just like we in the UK, we pay tax for protection from the government. You in America, I'm sure you pay tax, unless you avoid tax, but I'm sure you pay tax, so the government protects you. These non-Muslims, they were urged to pay the tax in order to get the security from the Muslims. What did this tax allow them? It allowed the Christians and the Jews to practice their religion freely. So it's not pay the tax, die or convert. Right? These people were living in the Muslim rule, the Muslim state, but the Christians were still worshipping Jesus, however you guys do. The Jews were still worshipping God within their places of worship. The Prophet didn't stop them. He didn't say you have to become a Muslim, come into the mosque. There's no radicalization happening here, okay? And then on top of that, the tax that the Muslims paid, that was considerably more than the tax that the non-Muslims were being ordered to pay. And on top of that, women were also exempt from this tax. You know, so what a violent religion, yeah? Women don't pay the tax. Only those people who can afford it pay the tax, right? So if they can't afford it, they don't pay it, but they still get the security. They can still worship within their holy places of worship. Women are not allowed to be killed. Neither are children allowed to be killed in war. Civilians are not allowed to be killed, and you can only fight in self-defense against those people who attack you first. But if they retreat, then you cannot go after them and kill them. And if they ask you for peace, then you have to incline towards peace. Oh my God, what a violent religion. The Quran in chapter 2 verse 256 says there is no compulsion in religion. The Quran in chapter 2 verse 190 says fight only in self-defense. The Quran in chapter 8 verse 61 says peace and reconciliations are better.
Historian Robert Hoyland points out in his book In God's Path that initially Muhammad attempted to spread his message through peace. But when that didn't work, he decided it was time to use force to carry out what he perceived to be God's will.
Then he says that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, apparently used force. What force? Every single battle that our Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, partook in was a defensive war. He didn't fight a single offensive war. Every single battle of our beloved Prophet was a defensive battle. So what force is being used?